Today on Locked On Rockies, the Rockies add another veteran to the team, this time going with Jurickson Profar. What does this mean for the Rockies? Is he going to start right away? Is he going to block playing time for the young guys? Was this the right move for the Rockies to make in the wake of the injuries? We'll ask these questions, talk about it all today on Locked On Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of March in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every single day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, great news for you. You are in the right place. That's what we do around here, is talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on your favorite streaming service, or search for us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Be part of the show. Go check it out, folks. I'm telling you, the best way, if you want to help support the show, if you want to say, hey, I have been liking Locked On Rockies, your subscription on YouTube means a whole bunch, helps the show out a ton. So consider subscribing to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, and then you can be part of the show and ask your questions. Technically, you can ask your questions anytime to us on Twitter as well. At LO Rockies, I'm at Paul Holden 33. First listen of the day is us. And if it is, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you for tuning in today. Big news for the Rockies. Profar, Jurickson Profar. I hope I'm getting that name correctly here. But anyway, this is an interesting move. This is one that, again, I can't sit here and necessarily be overly disappointed by the caliber of player. I mean, there might be some hesitations on part of the play, but like, we're going just stats here, and we're going to compare him to the Rockies because this is what I kind of talked about a little bit at the end of the show yesterday. Jurickson Profar, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the live chat, let me know. 3.1 wins above replacement, according to Baseball Reference. Had 140 hits and 575 at-bats with 15 home runs, a batting average of 243, 82 runs, 58 RBI, 5 stolen bases, an OBP of 331, slugging 391, an OPS of 723. That's pretty darn good. I mean, the average is low. I think the batting average is the biggest disappointment when it comes to that stat line. Let's compare him to Charlie Blackmon. Profar had 45 more at-bats than Charlie Blackmon, had 5 more hits than Charlie Blackmon, only 1 less home run than Charlie Blackmon. Charlie's got him on the batting average. Charlie has a batting 264 on the season there. That is one spot that Blackmon had him, as well as RBI. Profar scored more runs. Profar stole more bases. Profar had a higher OBP, but not by much. I would say, honestly, OBP, slugging, OPS, and OPS plus, pretty similar, but mostly favoring Profar when you kind of combine everything there. So he's not necessarily leaps and bounds better than Charlie Blackmon, but he's a better defensive option than Charlie Blackmon. And he can produce basically what Charlie Blackmon does with the potential little bit more upside. I mean, it's tough being down on Chuck, but I know I'm talking outfield. Again, we're on a Chuck at DH mindset here. Charlie Blackmon is going to DH more often than not for the Colorado Rockies. But if you have Profar, there's really no other reason for Charlie Blackmon to ever play right field again. I mean, you look realistically, is there any reason that Blackmon sees the outfield other than rewarding the vet who's been in Colorado for a while and let him play some outfield some more? Because he's not a better defender than any of them. Another thing that's an impact as well with Profar, as a lot of people point out as well, is the ability to bat leadoff. I would say Profar fits the Chuck bill outside of being Charlie Blackmon. And not surprised to hear Luxace say this in the chat. I want to see Charlie play some right field. Not surprised from the guy that's YouTube picture is Charlie Blackmon. But, I mean, Charlie Blackmon's not a good outfielder. And you can stick him in right field, and it's, I guess, but the reality is Charlie Blackmon's best way to contribute to the Colorado Rockies is to be the best hitter he can possibly be. All of Charlie Blackmon's focus this season should be on batting. He's played right field. We know. We've seen him. And that, I'm not saying that as we know we've had enough. He's proven it. I mean, I understand that he's a fierce competitor. He's a athlete, of course, of the highest caliber. I love Charlie Blackmon's on the Mount Rushmore of Rockies, if you ask me. I mean, possible number retiree. But I'm not going to sit here and ignore the fact that the dude shouldn't be playing in the outfield, especially as Rat King is saying, Coors is the biggest outfield in baseball. I don't need to watch Charlie Blackmon misread a ball off the wall. I don't need Charlie Blackmon to give me a heart attack every time he's chasing under a ball, thinking that he isn't going to make it. And yes, he does have an arm. Charlie Blackmon can certainly throw the ball. You're going to sit here and tell me that Profar, Daza, and Chris Bryant aren't all three better options than Charlie Blackmon defensively? I mean, I think if you're the manager of the Rockies, if you're Bud Black, you're sitting there and you're going to, if you want to put the best defense out there, when is Charlie Blackmon ever going to be higher than any of them on your list? And then when those players are out of the lineup, they should be replaced by young guys. They should be replaced by the utility guys. One guy that's probably not too pumped about the Profar signing is Nolan Jones, who was optioned to AAA. So I think it's why it's so interesting is because how much this can mirror Charlie Blackmon. And this, for sure, there was reports about it a little bit as well, I think, where people were talking about it. Chris Bryant is going to play right field. They're not going to want him running out and left anymore, especially with the foot, with the back, with the this, with the that. Stick him on over there in right field where he has significantly less ground to cover, and let Jonathan Daza help back him up. Let Jonathan Daza take care of stuff in between. But it makes more, and it sounds like Profar to left is going to be the move. Let's see Profar compared to some other Rockies as well, including Jonathan Daza and Randall Grichuk coming up here in segment number 2. But before we do that, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Folks, you know how influential LinkedIn can be in the job hunt. Where do you often turn to? Where do people tell you to turn to? It is LinkedIn. When you are hiring, post on LinkedIn, make your profile, add your job to it, and the purple hashtag hiring frame is going to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your streaming service of choice. You can also find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the live chat, just like Joel DeGrace, just like Rat King, just like at Rocks Hot Takes, just like Lux Ace. Lots of good takes, lots of Rockies action going on, and they bring up a good point. What about Randall Grichuk? Randall Grichuk is going to be the utility guy of the Rockies. And again, also is going to be someone that's going to be a factor off the bench. In fact, I didn't really even talk much about Randall Grichuk in the bench piece, because what the heck do you do with Randall Grichuk? I mean, seriously. Again, another situation where, are you going to be happy with Randall Grichuk getting more at-bats than Michael Toglia in June? If the Rockies are swinging, if the Rockies are fighting and obviously somehow in a competitive window, sure, but that's not how I'm operating right now. That's not what I really think is going to happen. I don't think even with all the I don't think with 100% healthy Rockies necessarily means they're a shoe-in for anything. Obviously, they'd be in a lot better position than they are now, but Randall Grichuk is sitting here scratching his head as well. Because Randall Grichuk's supposed to be Profar in a sense, right? Plays anywhere in the outfield. Offense, that's got to be part of it. Profar I'm learning more and more about. I've heard a little bit about him. The chat clearly excited. But what is Profar doing that Randall Grichuk isn't? And what is the point of having both of them on your team? Obviously, Profar is going to fill in while Grichuk recovers. But what happens when he's back? Randall Grichuk, a .3 WAR, 506 at-bats, WAR from Baseball Reference, 131 hits in those 506 at-bats, 19 home runs, 259 batting average, 60 runs, 73 RBI, 4 stolen bases, 299 OBP, a slugging of 425, an OPS of 724, and an OPS plus of 92. A reminder, Profar, 575 at-bats, 140 hits, 15 home runs, 243 batting average, 82 runs, 58 RBI, 5 stolen bases, 331 OBP, 391 slugging, an OPS of 723, and an OPS plus of 111. WAR from Baseball Reference at 3.1. So it's obviously an upgrade, minus the potential power. But it's also not a significant upgrade. Profar gives you better options than Grichuk, sure. But what's going to be the point of having both of them? At a certain point, you got to realize you got to fill the back end depth with the young guys, or at least keep the spot open for them. So now you're going to be rocking your rotation in the outfield is going to consist of, when Grichuk comes back and healthy, Profar, Grichuk, Bryant, Daza, Blackmon, at least. And those are the 5 guys that you can imagine right now. That doesn't factor in a Toglia. That doesn't leave room for a Nolan Jones to come up. What does that mean for Nolan Jones if he plays well? Harold Castro. Where are these guys going to go? It's if Grichuk hits the ball on the ground a bunch next year and doesn't do what he's supposed to do, which is hit a home run. Grichuk was brought over to strike out or hit a home run. That was basically the whole idea of the Raimel Tapia for Randall Grichuk trade, was you were trying to get the polar opposite player. Raimel Tapia, the man who hits the most exciting ground balls in the league. Say that till I die. For a guy that will strike out, but also hit a bunch of home runs. And Grichuk didn't do much. Grichuk did flash a little bit of the leather last year, though. Played a little bit of some good defense at some points next year. So this is a move where the concern builds for the young guys. This is a move where you sit there and say it's a lot harder for Zach Veen to play this year. It's a lot hard if you're doing this. Then is Michael Toglia getting a full look, a full switch, a mostly focused on first? Because again, when are you going to call up Toglia if he gets optioned? Probably going to get optioned towards the end of the spring. Not now. But where does that leave him? Where does the what option do you have for him other than focusing on first base? And then that means you're not going to be able to fit all of them. You know, I mean, it is going to be how much do the Rockies want to keep these veteran bats in the lineup versus making the moves and going younger. And the Profar signing convolutes that. Because I just, where are you if your outfield is now loaded with veteran guys that are expected to play? I mean, is there anyone out of that list that you'd expect not to play for the Rockies that I mentioned outside of Grichuk, who's injured? Not out of those 5. And that's 5 outfielders right there. Only 3 outfield positions. And only, and not a lot of days off. But, it does beg the question, Luxace, you do point it out. All signs were pointing to letting the kids play and just going with the young guys. And now that's not it. Let's dive more into that. Let's talk a little bit more. Let's compare Profar to Jonathan Daza here on terms of the offensive side in just a moment. But folks, did you know that not only is it March, but the Built March Madness bracket is here? I know you got a favorite Built Bar or Puff. I know you want to support it. Go make your vote count. BuiltMarchMadness.com to vote for your favorites. Anything with brownie, it's getting my vote, except for mint. I don't really like mint. But fudge brownie, double brownie, anything brownie, you got my vote. And you'll be voting for that bar to move on, to go out there. And why are you voting? Well, that's because 50 Locked On Rockies listeners, well, any Locked On listeners, I should say, you guys, a lot of competition, are going to get a free box of Built. And one Locked On fan is going to get a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try it. Built, the best protein bar ever. All those great flavors, those crazy macro charts, all covered in 100% real chocolate. You got to check them out. Got to dive in. Got to enjoy a Built bar. And you got to run to BuiltMarchMadness.com. That's BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March. So vote every day. Hop in, support your pick, win some Built Bar. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, where we are bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, free and streaming on the Locked On Podcast Network and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where Kevin J says hello from the Netherlands and a hello to you. And thank you for tuning in to Locked On Rockies. Man, we got some worldwide Rockies fans out here. What is that now? I know about France. I know about Brazil. I know about, what do we have? Italy. What do we got? Netherlands now. Sheesh. What a blast. This is the Rockies. Such potential, man. Such potential to be such a cool team. Costa Rica. There we go. So, people care about the Rockies. Isn't this amazing? You ever think that you'd be thinking about other people? Like, I go in places and I just sit there and I'm wearing a Rockies, and I wear a Rockies hat pretty close to everywhere and stuff. It's part of what I do. But and like if I see a Rockies hat out in the wild, I'm unfortunately trained to think that's not, it's just a style thing. Because when I've asked people about it, shot down every time. It's tough. But no, there's Rockies fans everywhere out there wanting their beloved purple pinstripes to succeed. Does the Profar signing get in the way of that? I don't necessarily think so. It complicates things. It's the start of the same old song and dance. We can see the classic Rockies in this move. But until this team went young last year, they did embrace playing the young guys. What does that look like this year? Will they do that again? I think that at some point they are going to. And I mean, there's plenty of ways to free up this. They just got to be active at the deadline. This move in the grand scheme of things won't really be a bad idea if they're just willing to do something at the deadline to get something back, something in return, something positive from the veteran options on this team. Again, if the Rockies are 15 games out of the race, they're below 500, and the trade deadline's there, and you roll over, and the starting outfield for the Rockies after the trade deadline is Profar, Daza, and Bryant, that's a problem. Because you got to start plugging in. The young guys have to play a role. They have to step up, and they have to develop. We gave I know his injuries have been an issue, but you give the keys finally to Brendan Rodgers, and what does he do? He performs. There were the issues. There were the thoughts. That's those stints. They're not so good. Come up and sit on the bench. There's no point to call up any of your prospects to have them sit on the bench. I kind of hate that. I you know what I mean? I love it for them, and I know it's part of the game, but I just kind of can't stand calling up a prospect to have him sit on the bench. If you're calling someone up to make his debut, the expectation should be that he plays a weekend, that he plays 3, 4, 5 games in a row, at least in my eyes. I don't think you should just be called up to say you're a major leaguer and say, hey, we got you ready in case, we're going to go to our fourth option. I don't know. But I think this is, I won't worry about this move. And when you look at him and you compare him to other Rockies players, he was better than Rockies players last year. Right now, the dude has a higher WAR than any outfielder that played for the Rockies last year. Jonathan Daza, 1.2 WAR at 372 at-bats, 112 hits, 2 home runs, 301 batting average, 56 runs, 34 RBI, an OBP of 349, slugging of 384, and an OPS of 733. Gosh, Jonathan Daza. If he repeats that with just a little bit more, it's going to be good, man. Daza's going to be good, man. The guy is going to be, he's a nice spring so far as well. He's got great upside. Great upside. Really excited to see what Jonathan Daza needs more pop. Sure, everyone can. The Rockies across the board need more pop. I mean, every single player needs to do more in terms of power. But I ain't doubting Jonathan Daza. That dude, he gets on base. And it would be nice for a little bit more oomph, but I mean, he's swinging the bat pretty well. I am. See, so but again, we're excited by that. But Profar was better. When you look at the options to start for the Rockies in the outfield, Profar is your best option. Some would say Bryant, maybe. But we'll have to see that. Bryant's got to play a full season in Colorado for me to believe it. I got to see that first. So maybe it's not the biggest signing, but it certainly is a signing that raises eyebrows and makes things interesting for the Colorado Rockies. And folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. What do you think of the Profar signing? What do you think of the Rockies' chances? It's all about y'all, the fans, here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Let me know what you want to hear more of, want me to talk about, be part of the live chat. Come find us here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, just like Stefano, just like Lux Ace, just like Kevin J, just like Rat King, just like, who else do we have today? At Rocks Hot Takes. I think I got everybody. Did I get it? Did I see Joel DeGrace? There he is, Joel DeGrace in there as well, hanging out here with us on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Hey, we'll see. If Profar brings the pop, I just want to see the Rockies score a lot of runs. That's one thing I really want to see this year. I want to see better offense across the board. And who knows, maybe Profar will bring that. We'll break it all down as it happens here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. You can go check out the Locked On Buffs, Avalanche, Broncos, and Nuggets. All have podcasts available for you. Daily coverage of those teams on the Locked On Podcast Network. And the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Show is going to help you win your season this year. Folks, come check us out on Twitter at LO Rockies. I'm at Paul Holden 33. Subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.